Oh, yeah, we like to start the Gr8 Nrthrn Sexcast here with the giggling from what's going on. We've got the studio dog Fred in here just chowing down. What was that, an elk thing or something? I think so. Yeah, some sort of a thing. Hey, Megan, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
And Colleen Bertino. Hi.
Good morning, everyone.
So here we are back at our little studio here at the Alive and Social Network studios following the great Twin Cities hit show, Rusty Gatenby and crew. Last week we went to the 90s again.
Yeah, it was loud.
Well, you know, I think what we need to...
And I'm jealous of the shoes.
Of all the shoes at the 90s?
Yes.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I know. The platforms, the size 9, 10, and 14 platforms were pretty funny.
Yeah, we special order shoes, so we would sell a lot of like size 14, 8-inch stilettos.
Really? So Fantasy Gifts is a source for that?
Yep, definitely.
Oh.
We have catalogs at all the stores so people can special order hundreds of shoes in all kinds of sizes. So we have a lot of queens that'll come in and
I did not know that
find
you guys
something for
were a
their
drag
big boats.
queen supply house.
Well,
Yeah.
we're also just the gentlemen who like to wear shoes. It's amazing how many shoes we sell around Halloween because people will buy them for their costumes.
right.
And we know damned well they're just wearing them at home, which is just fine. And if they need to come in at Halloween and that's when they go shopping, that's just fine. We'll get you your shoes.
Or the amount of people who have lost bet. You can't see this; it's a podcast. I'm finger quoting.
When I see
Air
finger
quoting.
quoting.
Lost bets.
Bets.
And, I lost this bet. Now I have to dress like a woman. I'm like, oh darn! Here, let me help you out with
And,
it.
you know, and we're like, fine. If that's where you need to start, you know, not everyone can be Bruce Jenner.
and still took him
Yeah.
30 years or something.
Well,
so
he's 70 now or something.
Yeah,
So-
Really?
yeah.
Is he? Wow.
65.
Six-
Yeah.
oh, 65.
Okay, 65. You know, that whole men's wearing women's things reminds me of a true experience that I had back when I was still living in San Diego, where I'm from. I bought my first house out in really basically the avocado capital, northern San Diego County, up in Fallbrook, you know, and it's very rural and lots of farms and things. And I had a couple acres, and my then boyfriend and I had this feed store that we went to buy dog food. And then one spring afternoon, I was there and they had baby chicks and baby ducks, right? I swear this comes back to cross-dressing. I believe it or not. I know it's going to sound like a really long curve, but so we get the chickens and ducks, and that was hysterical. And, you know, I'd go to get the feed, and this guy that always helped me there, his name was DJ. Sort of a short, very stout, bald guy, rough, gruff, and just surly. You know, I mean, nice to you, but just very rough around the edges. So I see him all the time, and he always would carry my 50-pound bags of whatever out to my car. And one day, I mean, literally out of the blue, he says, "I have a question for you, Kelly." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "I'm wondering if you would be willing to go down to San Diego to Nordstrom's for lunch with me someday and go shopping." I said, "Well," and I know his wife works there too, right? I go, "Oh, do you need a present for Sean?" He goes, "No." He said, "I've been dressing in women's clothes since I was a little kid. My mom kind of started this whole thing with me, and part of my psychotherapy is to do it out in the open with people, talk about it, and whatever." And I, you know, it wasn't that I had any judgment, but I had absolutely did not see this one coming, okay? And I said, "Okay." You know?
No, but think about it. He trusted you enough to say see that's the part. See, you have all
Yeah,
that, and
yep.
there's cute ducks and chicks and all this sort of stuff. But the trust part there,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's what always catches me.
And really, once I got my head around it and just stopped being so surprised, you know, I felt kind of honored that he thought that I was a nice enough person, or whatever kind of a person that would be accepting of him and stuff. And we went, and they had, well, you know how Nordstrom is, like with the personal shoppers and stuff. They had, you know, their little file. Back then it was index cards. My God, this was before the internet, right? They had their little, you know, index cards, and they had all of his sizes, and he tried on a bunch of outfits. I sat out there just like the boyfriend. It was hysterical. And he bought clothes, and it was a riot.
That's actually really cool to hear because we've had a lot of cross-dressers who come into our shop and get so excited that we let them try stuff on. Because a lot of times at some big stores, they they get judged or harassed, or people will kick them out, not let them try on clothes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool actually to hear that Nordstrom was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, you want to spend money here? Your money is green as everyone else. We got you all on file. We got you set up.
I gotta tell you, I mean, Nordstrom, I love the store, always have, but they are kind of famous for their personal shopping and all that. And they were personal shoppers. It was real personal. It was great. Well, so what's going on?
Let's see. We have been going insane pricing merchandise. I think that's why my knees are screaming at me like a Major League Baseball manager. And
Is it all the new stuff? Or
well, there's new stuff. There's restock. And see, after Valentine's and after Christmas, if it's still in the store, you got to rethink. Why didn't this go? Is it the packaging? Is something going through there? How can we do it? Or is something really well? Do we need more of this line and stuff like that? So once all that's done, and then Tara goes to the show, and then everything comes in. And boy, does it come in pallets after pallets after pallets. And I keep using the phrase sane and reasonable, but everyone knows that it can't sell if it's wrapped in plastic in the garage. It needs to be in the stores, but you still can't kill people trying to get it out. And we have bad knees and we have bad backs, and you just cannot kill people.
And there are literally tons of toys. Like unit of measurement tons of toys. So that's a lot of stuff to get through.
Yeah, I mean, you get a loaf in. This is not a lightweight item, and a loaf is a masturbation device, a vagina, and when you get the little tiny pocket ones, but the ones that are like, I don't know, 18 inches by 6 inches by about 12. Yeah, these weigh a bit.
We've got a torso that's about 50 pounds, probably.
No kidding.
That's always fun. I'm like, oh man, that's back. I gotta haul that one out.
Do you guys draw straws for who has to unload the torsos?
Well, actually, I would rather have the torsos than the little tiny bullet vibes, because people. As much as I would love it if people didn't take souvenirs out of the store, and by souvenirs I mean stealing, I need to have some security measures, and so we'll tape things and do different things. And there are just certain stuff you're like, I recognize the boxes, and I'll go over here.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just get something that's a little bit more of a pain in the butt. But the work is, it's necessary. Like I said, there's only so many souvenirs that a store can handle.
Oh, I'm sure. So, guys, it's really getting close now when Jessica Drake is coming to town. So for people that are just catching this, talk about what's coming up and what she's going to be doing here and what Fantasy Gift's role is.
Well, Jessica Drake, she is an adult film star. She has not made traditional adult movies in quite a number of years, but what she does have is a line of how-to. So there's oral sex and anal sex and couples, and it's a very popular line, very updated set of DVDs, and it's just been spectacular. She's also working with Wicked. They're the ones that did the pictures to promote their line of lube. And I know we've talked about that, and the candy apple and the caramel, and it's just, really tasty. And oh yeah, we got a ton of that in. And she's going to be here now, not only in June 13th, it's a Saturday, at our Burnsville location. There is a Facebook event page already set up by Megan. Okay. And she's going to be giving a seminar. It's sort of an all-encompassing, sort of a Let's Talk Sex with Jessica Drake.
Okay.
I'm going to be at the Burnsville store, 7:30, about an hour and a half of her talking. And
is that in the evening?
In the evening.
Okay.
In the evening, yes. And then there'll be time for her. She'll meet and greet with everyone. So if you've got something you want her to sign, or you want to take a picture, she's willing to. I'm pretty sure pictures. Let me, that's going through there. You can meet her, and she just is a wonderful sex educator. Okay. And we're just very excited that she's going to be able to come in. Okay. Like I said, we're waiting for graphics. So we don't have the official posters and everything in the stores yet, but there is a Facebook event page for it.
Okay, that's really awesome. And if you haven't checked us out on Facebook, Megan here, who is our guest, one of our in-studio people today. Megan, you do such a good job with the Facebook page. I just can't even tell you. I'm noticing there has been so many people jumping on and commenting lately because you put up such great stuff. I mean, you put up a lot of the stuff that we talk about here on the show, and we've got some doozies today, ladies, I got to tell you. But then, you just keep the discussion going. So great job there. Gr8 Nrthrn Sexcast on Facebook. And what's the Twitter?
GN Sexcast, at GN Sexcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
GN Sexcast.
No, my favorite thing is that the last time Jessica came in just to talk to our employees during our last seminar, and we're all having dinner, and I realized, I was like, I'd left because I needed to go pick up my daughter and do something, and I'm like, wait a minute, who was I sitting next to? I forgot the entire time. Because, like, people have stereotypes of me sometimes, and I should know better. You have stereotypes of who an adult film star would be. Mm-hmm. And I got Jessica next to me and just blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, who do you rep? She's like, Wicked. And I'm like, and I'm leaving. And I went, oh my God, that's the woman in the movies.
Yeah.
just absolute sweetheart. And I know that she is, she's taking her knowledge, and she's, more knowledge, and really her seminars have just been incredibly well received around the country, and we're just really excited to have her here.
Well, I think it's a really interesting progression that she's done with herself as she's matured and decided to have a family, but to stay kind of true to what she knows and do it in a way that, I don't know, it's admirable, I think, what she's kind of achieved for herself.
And it's similar, I see a lot of parallels between her and, say, Nina Hartley, to go back another 20 years,
okay,
where they were extremely popular. I mean, Jessica was up there with, I would say, Jenna Jameson around the same time frame, really just as popular. Hundreds of movies, was voted. I think Huffington Post called her one of the best adult stars of all time. Same with Nina Hartley, where they become really popular. And then as they get older, they don't necessarily want to get out of the lifestyle because, for a lot of people, they love the lifestyle. They love being in adult films, and that way they can transition to taking a more educational approach to it, which I think satisfies them in a totally different, unique way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Nina was probably the pioneer there because, she was a nurse, became a film star, and then got into producing her own movies and some of her, licensing her name. I mean, taking control, taking control of every aspect of what the Nina Hartley brand is, the same thing that, Jessica is doing.
Definitely.
And it's fun to see that because a lot of times people have a lot of stereotypes about what the business is.
Right.
And, the women like that have complete control over every aspect of how their image and everything's being used.
No, I think that's really cool.
I was going to say, it is really funny that when you say, oh, that's the woman from the movies, and you didn't recognize her at first, I would have recognized her immediately as the head in a box. Because for the longest time we carried this Wicked talking love doll, and it was Jessica Drake.
Okay.
So years I spent in the stores, like looking up, and I see Jessica's Drake face in this little plastic clear window, like
little
staring
freaky,
out
little
at me.
Freaky.
And sometimes they can get a little. Masturbators can be a little weird out of context occasionally when you're like, oh, that's a torso.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a guy standing right here masturbating right now, that I would consider that to be out of context, and that would be a little weird. So I get that. No, I'm just giving you a bad time. So
that's not okay?
Yeah,
no. Hands on the table.
Oh, wait. Is that wrong? So Comic-Con, talk about that.
Well, I'm going to actually leave this one over to Megan because we have a lot of a lot of geeks that work for us in a lot of different ways. And so when we got the opportunity to do Comic-Con, I'm like, do we do this? And I think I probably got more forceful yeses from my staff than from anything
so funny.
Ever. Now, I mean, I guess I'll go and say, but I know why, when we're doing that, I love the fact that they asked us.
Yeah. So what are you going to be doing there, Meg?
We are going to have a booth set up, and we're going to be selling a lot. And obviously so Comic-Con is a national pop culture convention. It's probably the largest convention company, I would say, in the world as far as putting on these, where it's sort of a nerd flea market. And then lots of famous actors and actresses there. You can do autographs and a lot of cosplay and that sort of stuff. But because of that, it is very open-aged as well, so there's young people, old people, kids. So we are having a booth, and a lot of what we're going to focus on is the lingerie and accessories, rave gear thing they could use to complete their costumes, wigs and that sort of stuff.
Okay.
But we do get in some special items that we keep in the back of the booth and check IDs, because there are companies that make comic book superhero based toys.
Okay.
And so it's like, yes, we need the caped cock. And if anyone's going to appreciate it, it's going to be the folks at Comic-Con. So we'll be bringing that stuff down, too. And so if you show us your ID, you can look at all the real fun stuff in the back of the booth.
Cock.
That and the web shooter.
Web shooter.
Those should be making an appearance.
Okay. Did you get the Hulk one in?
We actually sold... Not the Hulk.
Can't you? Super green dude? Yeah, super green.
The Incredible Hunk.
Incredible Hunk
was his name. We actually sold him.
Okay, already.
So yeah, we didn't get a chance. He won't be making an appearance this year. He smashed his way out of the stores.
But, God, that's awesome. Well, we haven't because last week we had special guests Rice and Beans. Mm-hmm. They're interesting people. They are erotic photographers. They're a husband and wife team. That's their second career. They actually have day jobs and whatnot. They're also part of the swinging community, and they brought one of their friends with them to the Gay 90s last week. And the live broadcast thing is always interesting. You kind of never know what you're going to be dealing with until you get there and see how the equipment's going to behave. So they've already said that they want to come back.
Yep.
And talk again. We're just going to have to find a time where they can come here outside of their day jobs. But that said, we haven't done a Gr8 Nrthrn Sexcast newscast in a while. So because there's rioting and earthquakes and everything else horrible in the news, let's talk about some fun stuff.
Yeah, I think we can use some diversion. I mean, the other stuff isn't important, but sometimes you need to step back and take a breather.
Well, we here in the Great North are no strangers to potholes, right?
That is true.
It's winter or it's road construction here in Minnesota, and I know our friends in Wisconsin and other areas that have weather understand how flat miserable the roads can be, and then when they're being fixed. Well, this guy in England got really, really mad about the lack of repair in his particular burg, and he'd actually had a couple friends that had suffered injuries on their bikes because they didn't see him coming and hit one, which I can imagine that would suck pretty bad. He's an artist, goes by the name Wanksy, which becomes more relevant here momentarily.
Okay.
He armed himself with a can of, and he did use washable spray paint. I must give him credit here. He went out and drew penises and other sexual things based on the shape of the pothole around them to call authorities' attention and get them to come out and fix. And believe it or not, it's become... They're working on them. But there's one, the penis ones are pretty obvious. They're just kind of around them, and they're still funny. But there's one where there's this huge gaping hole, and he made it look like basically a vagina. There's spread legs. There's this woman leaning. It's pretty funny. So Megan, I know that you will post the link to this so people can see it. But yeah, Wanksy, the appalling pothole-ridden streets, and now they're ridden with something entirely else.
No, I know that my parking lot at the office has a few potholes, and I get a little frustrated because I filled them in, and I share a parking lot, and nobody else helps me, fill them in. But I'm leaving them this time because my other neighbors tend to fly through my parking lot, and this slows them down. And even if they do paint penises on them, there's one person who's not going to be offended, and that would be moi.
Yeah.
I have to admit, it might work in England. It's not going to work in my parking lot.
Well, I do think I would love to see the streets of Minneapolis or St. Paul adorned in such a way to see if the Minnesota DOT would jump in and do anything, or if it would just make the news and make everybody laugh. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't advocate it, but it does seem like kind of a good idea.
I'm thinking. What are you doing later, Megan? Let's go get some paint. No, yeah, that sounds like fun. I did not know that the New York had a museum of sex. Have you guys ever heard of this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called MoSex for short. They've been around for 13 years. Have you guys been there?
No. Last time I was I went to New York with on a family trip, so I unfortunately was not able to stop. I was very bummed. I really wanted to.
Well, it's actually at 73rd Street. It's right, in the middle of everything, and the facility looks really nice. But one of the exhibits, if you will, is and it's big. Okay, it's a deer, a female deer with a buck on top of her and then another buck on top of him.
That
resides in the wing where they have, there's an entire exhibit there dedicated to different species mating with each other.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. They also have the Tunnel of Love and the G-Spot Mirror Maze. That might be fun.
It is hard to find, I guess. So
Yeah.
I'll throw it in a mirror maze.
So, and also the Tunnel of Love and all of that good stuff. So yeah, the museum, New York's Museum of Sex, something to do if you head out there. But you got to flip through some of the pictures. But actually, like I said, it does not look like anything seedy. It doesn't look like a certain place that's downtown Minneapolis where you just don't want to touch anything. It looks like a really nice.
From what I can see, it's like it's a curated museum, and I think what would be particularly fascinating is all the ancient sex toys. I always find those really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff is, it's not a new thing. Fantasy Gifts did not invent the dildo in 1980 when we started the store. This stuff has been around for a long time. And I definitely, when I'm going to get back to New York, because when I was there, it was also with, my daughter, so that's just not an appropriate.
Probably not.
I have to wait until she's at least in her 20s before we do that. I can properly embarrass her.
But the old sex toys, I mean, and we've talked about this too, and you put it up on the site so that you could see a lot of some of that stuff looks downright dangerous.
Oh yeah, it's terrifying.
Like painful. I mean, like, exposed wires and sharp edges, and that's not getting anywhere near my stuff.
I suppose you gotta work with what you got.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't know any better, but they have come a long way.
Oh yeah, let's hear it for silicone.
Sure.
Woo!
So this one is a new one. You guys all heard of Airbnb, right?
Yeah, it's the rent. Rent. You can rent out your apartment or your home or something to someone. It's a private thing versus
like a hotel.
Hotel.
Yeah. This is kind of a European concept. It's been getting really popular. In fact, my condo complex where I'm a member of the board, you're not allowed to do that, and we bust people on there all the time trying to short-term rent their properties. Mm. But this is an entirely different deal. This is Kink B&B. And this is a sex dungeon sort of thing. So this is a guy from San Francisco. His name's Darren McKeeman. And he said, it's really hard to find a dungeon to rent, and it's even harder to get your sex toys through the TSA when you're traveling. So he was trying to solve a problem, and I give him really big props for thinking out of the box, so to speak. They're starting business on May 1st. One of his biggest challenges right now is because getting the listings. They've got a dozen up there right now, but they are just really having a difficult time trying to find.
So you could just you could list your own personal dungeon for travelers to use when you're up.
Yeah, and there's pictures. I mean, and these are some tricked out. Serious. I mean, there was money spent on these things. Like there's one on Vancouver Island in BC. It's a seaside cabin, and then they've got a custom spanking bench, a naughty sex swing, and a professional massage table. There's an LA one that boasts you can enjoy an orgy-friendly play space with a kitchen and a dungeon, but unfortunately, there's no air conditioner.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what they're saying. They've only got 12 homes and dungeons at this point, and so they're wanting the word out there. So I thought we'd give them a little naughty PSA today and say, hey, if you want to make some coin on your dungeon, you can Kink B&B it. But
I wonder. I mean, do you have? Is cleanup cost included?
Yeah, I wondered about that too. And when he said something about taking toys through TSA, I don't think I want the toys that come included in somebody else's.
I mean, think about how many local newscasts where they'll go into, a Holiday Inn or some other, Marriott, anything with a black light and show you all the goo that's all over. Well, this, you're guaranteed, I mean,
right, you're right.
This is, right? Yeah. So there has to, what do they acid wash it when you're done? I don't know. I mean, I was very freaked out by this.
Mm-hmm. But then again, if you're talking about just a kink dungeon, sometimes it doesn't include sex.
It's true.
It's just, they are, you can, but, a lot of bondage is just about the bondage. It's just about the humiliation. It's just about the domination, not the sex. But sweat.
And blood.
Yeah, a lot of sweat.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that would go back to the folks that like the armpit smell.
Oh, yeah. I had kind of let that one go, and here it is back again. Thank you.
It always goes back to the armpit.
Yeah, well, this trails into kind of another story. This is pretty interesting. There's literally a group of BDSM people over in the Czech Republic that have started their own mini nation, and it's a femdom, and it's controlled by female doms over there, and they're trying to expand. And they were featured in an article for a magazine called Good Magazine. And this just got featured, and they're starting to get attention all over the world, really. And so it's female dominant, micronation, and it's formally situated in the Czech Republic. And the dominatrixes and their slaves are building a thriving community. What do you think of that?
Okay, so this is in the Czech Republic, in which I can't send a toy, but they can do this. So obviously they had to set up their own world because nation, because a lot of the that list. I mean, they're on the country list of countries that I can't send something to if I wanted to send something overseas.
Well, maybe you could ship something to the new femdom nation.
It's kind of like a condom nation, but get it? DOM nation. Get it? Okay. I was thinking, would they have elections? Probably not. Nope. No elections here.
No.
Well, you could, but I'm sure that you would be highly encouraged to vote in one direction or another.
I mean, how would that work? Because I started thinking, what would the structure of the government look like in a place? This is me being an idiot. And then I'm thinking, well, okay, Justice Department or the Supreme Court. Supreme Court could be an interesting concept. Gavel much? I mean, I don't know.
Technically, you don't really know what's under the robes of our Supreme Court.
I've often wondered.
You could hide a lot of things under some robes.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
Yeah, they're called chambers. Now you got my brain going.
See how you are.
It just takes an idea and it just runs. I wish I could do that in real life and lose some weight. But yeah, my brain runs, the body sits really still.
If your body ran as much as your brain did, that'd be unbelievable. In everybody's case, I think. So this guy in Illinois, right? He owns and I'm going to call him out. He's got a comedy club called Cigars and Stripes. Okay, so remember this. Don't go there if you are a woman, because he's got a two-way mirror in the bathroom. And one of the performers that was there figured it out and took video of it and pictures and kind of called it out, however you expose that. I think you can put your hand behind it or something, whatever. Anyway, the owner said he's not taking it down. And he said, oh, come on. It's my fun house gag. Well, he's totally spying on these people without their not. I mean, hello? I mean, see, this is not cool because it's non-consensual. And we don't advocate that around here.
Well, it depends. I mean, someone's going to have to decide whether or not it's it may or may not be against Illinois law. Well, yeah, that's the weird part about stuff like this. Right. I mean, there were folks here that were taking upskirt pictures, but there was no law against it. And that's the thing. People find these little, little there's the word, loophole I want. And they exploit it like hell. So it's going to be up to the folks in Illinois to say, no.
Kind of like the dude who kept jacking off into his coworker's coffee here and is not officially a sex offender at that time. He will be going forward, if it happens again. Yeah, well, I mean, and I just think, fine, disclose it. And then if I want to go in the bathroom where I know there's a two-way mirror, that's on me. So, I mean, is it like in the stalls or just in the part where you're like, picking the spinach out of your teeth and putting on your lipstick and washing your hands and, maybe, adjusting the boobies? I don't care. Because, the bra gets in there, you reach in. It's not something you do in public, but you have to go adjust it, in private. I mean, a guy may adjust in public, but most women I know are going to go... into the restroom and figure out that the thong is in a weird spot or the pantyhose have shifted. Yeah, you want a little privacy for that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the point is that he's watching them in what should be a private space. Yeah. I always think it's weird, even when I get weirded out when I see those signs, sometimes at like malls or something where it's like, warning, maybe cameras in bathrooms for theft prevention. I'm like, how is that legal, though? I know there was, who was it? Gosh. Chuck Berry, I think. Was it him? Some famous musician got in trouble because he had two-way mirrors in he had owned a club and he had two-way mirrors.
I think as long as then again, I think if it's out there, that might be the biggest thing. If someone knows about it, if it's posted.
Right. But now that's what's going to stop it. And but it's only, in his mind, his unfortunate luck that a woman was noticed it. If he had his way, he'd be spying for as long as he could.
There's a really neat place downtown Minneapolis on Nicollet Mall. I won't call them out because I really like this place. But their bathroom situation is peculiar, and there are mirrors that do look like they could be, two-way in there. And first of all, I always get freaked out, even though I've been going there for years, which side to go on, because I check, double check, triple check before I make that turn, walking in on a guy that you don't know is really not fun. Anyway, but it always crosses through my mind, that it could be, just kind of freaks me out. So, back to New York for a minute, please.
I mean, not Florida. Okay, so no, Florida has the non-sexual weirdos, and so New York has the.
Well, New York has the loudest. They actually had someone come out with a study. There's an app or an algorithm for everything, Colleen. I'm telling you right now. They have run the numbers on sex complaints. So basically, they have determined where the loudest sex in New York takes place.
Well,
they literally.
They're stacked on top of each other.
Well, I know, but this is funny stuff. Brooklyn leads all the boroughs in noise grievances related to sex. So 42 of the 133 loud sex complaints made through their 311 line. I mean, they did an official analysis. That just cracks me up. I think that's so funny.
All the hipsters in Bloomington, maybe in Brooklyn are doing it loudly. Pretty
much. And what's really funny is the majority of the most complaints were centered on one particular address, and it's a street in Bay Ridge, and they describe it as a deceptively sleepy neighborhood that's best known for ethnic food and conservative politics. See, the ones that are screaming the loudest about don't be naughty are the biggest pervs on the planet. Isn't that just so true?
It is definitely true.
I just love the fact that they can narrow it down that much with the data mining.
They did. Mm-hmm. That's what cracks me up. I mean, there's a company called DNA Info, and they thought, hey, let's just analyze this. It's like, really, do you guys not have enough to do?
Well, it probably more than likely it's advertising for their company, because think about it. We're talking about it. Someone might need some really detailed information about, I don't know how many, anything. I can't. I said that they can figure out where the loudest sex is. I bet they can figure out whatever the hell else I want to find.
Well, I do think I'm going back to New York. Apparently, Sex Museum in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I need to go. I got to check out Brooklyn. I've never actually been in Brooklyn, and every time I've been there, it's either been like you, Colleen. It's either been a family trip or a business trip where my time was so tightly controlled that I didn't get to. The coolest thing I did get to do, though, I have to say, and it was on a work trip. We got to have a party on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange after hours and walk around and see everything, like literally. And you know what? The biggest thing that I thought that blew my mind. Have you guys ever been in there?
No, I just seen it on TV.
It's tiny.
Okay.
It's tiny. I mean, not tiny, but it is so much smaller than you think it's going to be, and it's the weirdest experience.
That little balcony, is it just sort of like...
it's neat. Yeah. And one of my then bosses was up there, and they let him mock ring the bell, and she's up there going, ding, 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 ding. It was so fun, but it was just one of the coolest experiences. But you want to talk about... It was worse than going through airport security getting in there. And I don't blame them a bit, and I didn't mind. But and they were a hell of a lot nicer than the TSA, I might add. But they looked everywhere. And so, yeah, if you ever get a chance to go, I would tell anybody to set foot in there. It's just like a really interesting piece of history, American Alcana.
I will put that on the list, because I did manage, when I was there, to get inside Lady Liberty.
Nice. Not everybody can say that.
No, got to climb up the stairs. It's a double spiral. So as you're climbing up one side, someone else is coming down. You have to take reservations. And I'm like, okay, this is really...
Was it really steep?
It's practically... It's almost a ladder.
Oh,
it's very narrow, and it is tiny. But I'm like, I have to do this. I just totally... American Studies major. I just totally geeked out over that. I said, I don't care if my ankle hurts. I'm climbing up Lady Liberty.
I get that. But I have such bad vertigo. I don't think I could handle it. I honestly think I would panic. And then I did that in the Arch in St. Louis. I got up there and my knees came out from under me, and they had to take me down by myself because I couldn't stand up. I literally went rubber. Have you ever had that happen to you?
No.
It is the weirdest thing.
No, I'm fine with height as long as they're completely enclosed. So I did the Arch. Well, actually, technically, the first time I did the Arch, I was about 8 months old, so I don't remember too much. But
I would hope
parents
not.
Parents brought it, but we went up there, and I'm just like, clunk, 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 as it's going up the track, and you're just like, this doesn't sound good. But I'm sort of a history geek, so stuff like that is exciting.
And it sways, and it's designed to do that, with the wind. Well, that just did me. And anything with an edge is my deal. Edges. I cannot. Enclosed, open, doesn't matter.
So you're going to Chicago and you're not staying. You're not going out. No, neither.
Don't even say that. Don't even say that to me. Okay, that's how intense it is for me.
So on the bucket list for us would not be sex in really high places with ledges. This is not happening.
But you know what? Weirdly, chairlifts don't bug me. Skiing, I'm fine on a chairlift.
Oh, that is weird.
I know.
Chairlifts freak me out.
Oh, I'm not getting anywhere near chairlift. No.
Oh, isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think I would have sex on a chairlift. Yeah.
Well, more of a gondola or an actual chairlift?
Oh, I would do a chairlift. I think so.
That's going to be
cold. Just be careful. I think your tongue will stick to those poles, so I can't imagine what else.
Or something else going to be. So, guys, I found something today, and I thought we've never really talked about this one particular thing. Our whole deal here at the Gr8 Nrthrn Sexcast is, about sex. I mean, Colleen, characterize it. What kind of the philosophy and the point is around here one more time.
That sex is normal and fun.
Yeah.
That it's something that you can talk about. That it's not taboo. And it's and whenever I say this, because someone's going to call me out if I don't, that it's about consensual, respectful sex.
Yes.
And I sometimes wish I didn't have to say that every time, but
Right.
I'm going to.
Or at least if you both agree to have it be disrespectful sex.
Yeah.
That can be fun too.
That is
can
a
be fun,
very,
too.
very good point. And yes, it is, Megan. I like that. Well, we've never talked about first date sex. Because there's so much stuff. So I found this whole thing. It was confessions of several different people about first date sex, and a lot of it was interesting. And I think so many people could relate with one or many of what these people have said if you've ever done that. But the comments that people were making, and some of them were very insightful. I'll share some of them with you, and some of them were just the haters that are out there, right? Like, oh, just jump in. Oh, look, I found something to be judgmental on and be a jerk. Okay, the first one was...
No, are we talking about what we think of as a traditional first date? You maybe meet each other a few times, and one of the person asks the other person out, but you don't really know each other very much?
Sure.
Okay. Or, because the concept of a first date is really varied.
It is.
Okay.
But I think in general, I mean, some of these people, it could be like what you just described, Colleen. Some of them, they met, and then they had sex the first time they met. And that's reflected.
Okay, so okay.
So there's kind of a mixed bag here. But the first one was, this is I think the all-encompassing one. She says, I really like this guy, but had sex with him on the first date. Now I'm worried that my chances with him are ruined. So the first comment to this was a guy from Alabama. You can't ship toys there either, can you?
Nope.
See? Just saying. He says, my girlfriend and I had sex the second time we ever hung out, first time alone, weren't even dating, hadn't been on dates yet. We've been together almost 2 years. So he was trying to give her a little pat on the head. And then the second one, no, I'm sorry. So that was all that. Just what do you think of the first one? Because that's the one that most people, your mother will say to you, don't have sex on the first date. He won't call you.
Yeah, I think that's particularly outdated.
I think so too.
In general, because I don't really know how many times, I mean, there's a hookup, which it sounds like more like that was just it. But if you're on a date, to say you've probably been online and talked to each other. I mean, I don't know how many traditional I barely know you things, but it's 2015.
Tinder?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
different.
Thing. But is that for dating or is that for sex?
Oh, that's for sex.
It's like OkCupid. I think OkCupid is for dating. You meet someone in public, you go on a first date, you don't know them, and it can, very well end in sex. But my thing is that if you have sex with someone on the first date and are thinking about continuing to date them and they don't want to because somehow they don't feel they're culpable in this two-way interaction, you don't need to be dating them to begin with.
I like that.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying, because
point.
I think the no sex on the first date had to do with, sex is dirty, it's wrong, there's anxiety, there's shame, there's a whole bunch of things. And I'm like, well, that's a load of crap right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I mean, you hit that right there. If someone's like, I don't want to date you after sex, I said, well, you might want to just put your hands down on your own body, because then obviously you're having a problem with yourself.
Right. Well, and Kelly goes back to my Sex in the City, but they dealt with that with the Carrie and the Big characters. They kept seeing each other around and not getting to go on a date, and finally when they go on a date, they end up having sex. Mm-hmm. And then she freaks out, and everybody knows the rest. The rest is history. But that's something I think a lot of people have dealt with and thought of and
definitely
freaked over.
And it is, like, to Colleen's point, it is kind of tricky now because there are different definitions of date. I mean, you could meet someone specifically for the point of hooking up. You could plan a one-night stand when you come home from a bar, but it seems like for this article in particular, it's more of a traditional, we are going out for drinks or dinner to meet each other, see if there's chemistry. And then apparently, yes, there is a lot of chemistry very quickly.
Clearly.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, and then, really, at that point, if you're going to have sex on the first time, you've got that out of the way. Yeah.
There's that. There's that. In fact, there's a couple of really okay. So the second one I thought was pretty interesting. The girl says, "I've always been embarrassed that I slept with my boyfriend on the first date, but he just told me that that's one of the reasons he wanted to keep dating me. Don't know how I feel about that." And then she got two really nice comments. One of them said, "It means you're both cool and don't play stupid games." And there was another supportive one. And then there's two jerks. One of them said, "Easy ho. He doesn't want to keep dating you. He just wants to keep fucking you." I mean, how mean. And then another one says, "Probably because you're easy." Well, if she's so easy, he doesn't even need to date her. He can just show up every once in a while, right?
Mm-hmm. And that would also make him easy. So once again, you're at your double standard here.
It goes back to that where it drives me crazy where it's like two people have sex and the guy, you're like, "High five, guy, you had sex, way to go." And then you're like, "Oh, slut," to the girl. And it's like, two people.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true. I love the third one. "I slept with a guy on the first date and so glad I did. He was awful. See you never."
See, that goes back to what I said before. You sort of, because if you can Dear Abby it up all you want and work it out or this or that, or you can just say, "Oh, this is not going to work."
Yeah.
Because this is something, it's a big part of a relationship. I know that there are, folks that it's not, but for the most part, it is a huge part of the relationship. And if it's not going to work out, you might as well find out.
Yeah.
Because there'll be a lot less hurt.
You can learn a lot in different ways. Like if they, if you were with someone and they didn't even try to say, to please you or something, and you're like, "Hey, what about me? Do I get to get off?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, whatever." Then that I think it says still a lot about their personality, and it's going to affect their personality in aspects outside of the bedroom as well.
I agree. Next one is a doozy. "Went on a date with a guy and didn't shave my legs so I wouldn't sleep with him."
That never works.
And we did anyway.
I know. I cannot believe. Yeah.
The comments here are hysterical. One of them's been there. Hashtag story of my life. Haha. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Stuff like that. And then you get this person. "You don't have the slightest bit of self-control and self-worth. It's sad that you have to set a no-shaving goal to stop you from giving a random person your vag. You should have told him no and brought your ass back home." Oh my God. Why are you even reading this stuff if you're such a bird?
I do find it fascinating that people, because first of all, almost every letter you've written there, listened to, is from women. I mean, they're just really concerned about this, and it seems like it seems like a lot of the responses are for women who are shaming other women about their choices. And I'm like, screw you.
Yeah.
On the first date, I guess, but really, do it.
The next one's from a guy, and it's kind of sad.
Oh,
listen to this one. He says, "I had sex with a girl first time we met. I fell in love. She doesn't feel anything, but she still talks sweet and drags my heart along." I know.
Oh, it's just.
Yes.
It's frustrating. Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing there. It obviously didn't, something didn't work, and it didn't have to, take it, it's, you can use the "it's not them, it's you" thing. But it does sound really, there's a role reversal there. And, and we go, and if, and the thing is the same thing that has to happen to the other person, the self-respect thing. if the roles were reversed there, we'd be going, well, the guy treated you like a jerk. Go. Well, she's treating you like a jerk.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's a more upper one from another guy. He says, slept with a girl on the first date. Now can't stop thinking about her. Need to see her again.
There's a thing called your phone.
There's no details about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. He could call her. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So this one, though, this one I think a lot of people have identified with. I had sex with him on the first date. I hate that my friends were right about how slutty I'd feel afterwards.
Get new friends.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. Your friends should not be shaming you.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
not at all. And if you're feeling that, it has nothing to do with the fact that, I'd take a look inward at what's going on.
This next one's a little disturbing. She says, I had sex with a man on the first date, and now I think he thinks I don't respect myself. I feel worthless. This girl's run the entire gamut of everything. She's thinking what he's thinking, and now she's worthless because of what she thinks he thinks. Right?
Which, and it's like, because
therapy.
I understand all of these.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I had that happen not too long ago where you can't help but think, oh, crap. What did I do? What does this mean about me? And then you're like, oh, actually nothing. Like, all these thoughts is what society is telling you that you need to feel and how you need to feel. And you realize, how do I feel? I feel like I had fun. Okay, that should be it.
Next.
You know? Yeah.
Well, we're going to end this one on a really good note.
Okay.
This gal says, I slept with my husband the first time we met. That was 16 years ago, and we're still madly in love.
Excellent.
Obviously very compatible.
If it
But
works
like I said,
for you,
but there's
it
no
works.
details. I like the fact that she said the first time we met, because I mean, with the dating and with the or just friends that have been friends for a zillion years, and then just suddenly they're at the points in their life where they meet each other. If they go on a date and they have sex that night, I mean, they've known each other forever. Is that?
Yeah, that's
It
different.
sounds like
different,
the shame in this, or the idea of if there should be shame, is from the, like, we are literally meeting for the first time. Like, my last first date lasted, 6 hours. And
Really?
ended when he left. And it was in the house, and it was fine. Like, we're still dating.
Cool.
But there's still that, like, yes, well, especially me and anyone else who might have been raised Catholic, there's residual Catholic guilt where you're like,
That's
oh
real.
God, what did I do? And then you're like, what did I do? Had fun. That's it.
Yeah.
What is it? What is there to be so concerned about?
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
So.
And not to put words or thoughts in the current Pope's mouth, I'm not Catholic, but he certainly seems a hell of a lot cooler than most of his predecessors in my lifetime.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, he really, doesn't it seem like he's come out and really, really tried to address a lot of the barriers between the papacy and the lay people?
He's definitely a little bit more. Actually understands what's happening in the real world.
Yeah.
How much change will happen, who knows? But I think if you can at least verbalize something, once again, it sounds like, like a self-help book here.
Yeah.
But you can, if you can verbalize it, you can talk about it, you can at least start to do things. But he's got to be really careful, because the majority of Catholics, from what I understand, are in Africa, are in Latin America. And so these are very different societies.
Oh, yeah.
So he's speaking to, Western Catholics and everything.
Yep.
But the majority of their support is coming from different countries. So we'll see where that goes and who the next pope's going to be.
Yeah.
We'll see what the backlash is to him being honest.
Well, I was thrilled to see a pope that came in from the region where he's from, because we haven't had that, in a really long time. And, regardless of what religion you are, the man is in the news. You hear from him, and what's going on in that part of the country and the world. So, well, guys, once again, a reminder, Jessica Drake on the 13th, Facebook event page, right, Megan?
Yep, we do have an event on our Fantasy Gifts Facebook page.
Okay, so we can go and find out more details. I'm going to come down, and we're going to hopefully the next day get some interviews with some people, right?
Yeah,
That's that weekend.
Yeah, the next morning, for our store employees only, will be a seminar with several manufacturers and their reps. And so I'm hoping that we can talk with different folks and have bits and pieces, because these are the folks, that really know their merchandise. And they're salespeople, yeah, but you're not going to take a job with a company that some people look askew at when it comes to like sexual stuff if you don't believe in it.
Yeah.
And so it's been, this is some of the nicest salespeople. I mean, I'm a salesperson, so I happen to like other salespeople. My dad was a spectacular salesman. Yep. So there's just some of the best folks, and they sell really interesting products. And so I'm not sure when we get closer to the date, we'll know which companies are there, and we can talk about those.
I'm gonna come down and I'm gonna park the equipment and I'm gonna grab people and get random stuff. We'll do a big old montage for our show coming up, and maybe hopefully that evening we can get a little chat with Jessica too.
Oh, I'm sure she'd be up for that, and my mom would be there too.
Okay,
so you can probably get a hello for my mom.
That would be fun. I know you're very nervous about that, but it's okay.
If it's it'd be fun because I think we need to just sort of know where the podcast is going and stuff like that, and I think it's going in a really fun direction, and she is sort of a hoot.
I know you wanted to wait until we got up and running before we introduced Mom, and Megan, I think it's time. Don't you?
Yeah. I stay out of the phone.
Okay, well, check us out on the Gr8 Nrthrn Sexcast on Facebook. Megan's going to put up all the links to all the goofy stuff that we've talked about today. You can check out the events. Stop by the store. Say hi to everybody. You all cycle through, and it's really fun. You're all part of the show intermittently, and we love having you here. So Colleen and Megan, have a great rest of the week.
You too.
You too. Have a great week.